So we've seen the targeting of thousands of journalists, medical staff, humanitarian workers, infrastructure workers, the total decimation of agriculture, religious sites, homes, residential blocks, the destruction of neighborhoods, memories, bloodlines. Northern Gaza is ethnically cleansed to a great extent. Doctors, including from America, say that they've seen kids deliberately sniped. How many acts of genocide does it take to make a genocide?
So look, I appreciate what you're trying to do with the way that you phrase that question, but let me just say again unequivocally that the allegations of genocide we find to be unfounded.
You might recognize Vedant Patel from his time in the Biden administration. He served as principal deputy spokesperson for the United States Department of State from 2022 until the end of Biden's term. Earlier this week, Sludge reported that Patel has been hired for a Democratic consulting firm that is registered as a foreign agent for Israel. The firm is called SKDK, and it made tens of millions of dollars last year. It earned more than $80 million during the 2024 election cycle from its political work for Democrats and pro-Israel super PACs, according to Open Secrets. We have a lot more details for you to get into, but so far, Cenk, what does this say about the revolving door in DC?
So guys, if you wonder why is everyone in government in favor of fill in the blank, drug companies charging us whatever price they want? I mean, that's an absurd position. Almost no other American that isn't in Washington agrees with that position. It's the most anti-capitalist, anti-free market position. Well, if you're wondering why is everyone in Washington absolutely obsessed with serving Israel, when no one else in the country is like, well, other than the Christian Zionists, are like, oh my God, please give more money to Israel's genocide. Oh, I'm making too much money. Here, take some to kill another 30 Palestinian children, another 27 people trying to get food, etc. Why is Washington so different than the rest of the country? Well, that's because Washington is where you go to get bribed. And the bribes go around and around and around. And some are easy to tell. The campaign contributions are legalized bribes. Now Donald Trump is taking it to a different level. Just put money into my junk meme coin that goes straight into my pocket. That's like as close to an actual bribe as it gets. And in fact, I think it is a bribe. And then you've got the bribes behind the scenes. So lobbies give a lot of money to think tanks, to publicist organizations, which are huge law firms. And those publicists and the law firms run a lot of the mechanics and the machinery of Washington, D.C. And that's where foreign governments pour in money into think tanks, and not just Israel. Qatar does it, Saudi Arabia, UAE does it, a lot of countries do it. So now, if you are going to work for one of those lobbyists or consultants or publicists or law firms, which almost all of them are going to after they leave the administration, you better know where their bread is buttered. And if their bread is buttered by, for example, in this case, Israel, then you're gonna have them while they're in office going, Israel's the best. I can't wait to get paid by Israel. Israel's the greatest. Oh, sure, they're murdering all these people, but so what? They're only Palestinians, they don't really count. Israel, please give me money, please hire me in one of the firms you're giving millions and millions of dollars to. Now, it doesn't have to be Israel. Like I said, it could be a different lobby or a different government, but in this case, it is Israel.
Well, last year, most of SKDK's customers were Democrats running for Congress or Democratic PACs. But we'd like to point out some other groups that were using SKDK's services, specifically pro-Israel groups. You could see here, United Democracy Project paid $1.3 million. Zionist PAC, $760,000. Democratic Majority for Israel, $700,000. All of that is relevant, given that, again, SKDK is a registered foreign agent for Israel. It's also relevant given how Patel spoke about Israel during his time as a spokesperson for the Biden administration. Here's more of what he would say in those press briefings.
Apparently, rape and killing and torture and all this thing, it happens regularly in Israeli detention camps. Does that constitute a war crime to you?
So the reports of abuse are deeply concerning.
If proven to be true, that does constitute a war crime, doesn't it?
I'm not a legal expert, Saeed. It certainly, I imagine it would be inconsistent with Israeli law.
It's been 184 days now since Israeli forces killed him in their job. Has the Biden-Harris administration followed up on this alleged lie by the Israeli government, or sought to confirm any of Israel's claims on the half-year-old killing now of this girl and her family?
So we are in touch with our partners in Israel around the clock on a variety of issues. I don't have any specifics to read out as it relates to this conversation. I'm happy to check if there have been any additional updates, but to my understanding, this investigation is still ongoing.
Does Israel have a right to use Palestinians as human shield, as was reported?
They are these reports, they are disturbing, and we would urge Israel to immediately and transparently investigate these allegations and hold any potential perpetrators accountable. Israel has a responsibility to comply with its obligations under international humanitarian law, but I also just want to stress, Saeed, that they are just reports at this point.
Well, congrats to him, because he was just hired as the senior vice president of SKDK. It's not yet clear if he'll be working on issues pertaining to Israel at the firm. Meanwhile, SKDK is working on Israel's media strategy. Filings reveal the firm has conducted outreach on behalf of Israel to outlets like NPR, Axios, 60 Minutes, MSNBC, Fox News, and The Lead with Jake Tapper. It also disclosed conducting outreach to Elon Musk's X, which has been accused of censoring pro-Palestine accounts. SKDK has announced Vedant Patel will support its public affairs, corporate, and crisis communications clients. Cenk, what do you make of this?
Yeah, so look, this happens, like I said, throughout Washington. Anthony Blinken's firm, which was about a great majority of the top level staffers for Joe Biden's administration in foreign affairs, his firm reported to also take money from Israel. So before and after they work in the administration, they're getting millions and millions of dollars from Israel. So when they're inside the administration, oh, look at that, they only do Israeli talking points. Wow, what a surprise. But there's another angle here that's also important. So SKDK is actually one of the most powerful forces inside Washington. So if you want to be taken, quote unquote, seriously, you give them money and they get you all over media, and they're very good at what they do. And so, for example, Jordan just read to you guys, oh, they pitch CNN, NPR, et cetera. And if we do that on our own, or you're especially if you're a left-wing show, right? And you do a pitch to get onto one of those outlets, there's a very, very low chance you will, okay? But if SKDK pitches you, they're like, ooh, that is credible and legitimate. Okay, well, this is very important. Our allies at SKDK think this story is important. And you'd be shocked at how much that happens. So that's why all these governments and corporations pour a lot of money into places like SKDK, because they know that a lot of the politicians and the staffers are gonna go work for them and are gonna know that in the back of their mind and are gonna take it easy on their clients. But potentially even more importantly, they know that if you give them money, they wind up influencing media in a massive way. So if you're wondering, like, why is mainstream media in my lifetime so massively pro-Israel, like unbelievably pro-Israel? Like, Palestinians are barely human, like, so constantly called terrorists and implied that, oh my God, you can't do a peace deal with them. They're too violent as people to ever be free. They can't be free. I mean, all of these grotesque racist assumptions about Palestinians and Muslims my entire life from mainstream media. Well, there was a lot of publicists who were paid by the government of Israel to say, hey, put out this talking point, put out that talking point. And all their talking points were about how Palestinians can't be trusted, Muslims can't be trusted, Muslims are problematic, Muslims are savages, Muslims are violent. And then you see that all over our mainstream media. And you think, oh, it's like, if you think it's a cabal where they all get a memo run by some Bilderberg dude, no, that's not at all how it works, right? But if you think that there aren't money influencing media in that way, well, then you're a sucker. You literally don't know what's going on at all. And I don't blame you, because no one ever talks about that. You think the media that SKDK influences in the direction of whichever clients they have, drug companies, foreign governments, etc. You think the media is going to be like, oh yeah, we were bought by these guys. We were totally influenced very unfairly by these guys who are paid off by foreign governments. They're never going to do that story. That's why you need Sludge and great independent outlets like that to do this story, because they're never going to tell on themselves. That's why you don't know how the media is often controlled by this type of money that flows through Washington.
Yeah, of course, SKDK is not alone as a landing spot for people leaving the administration, leaving the government. And the problem, I think, what people need to understand is this is, I think, for many people, why they go into this type of work to start. They don't go into public service because they love their country or they're really passionate about this kind of work or love the legislative process. They know there is a several orders of magnitude higher payday waiting for them after, when they can use that access for a corporate client. I subscribe to the Politico, in addition to Sludge, who is tremendous. I subscribe to the Politico newsletter on lobbying, and just day after day after day of all of these soulless firms taking on clients because someone who's lobbying there or somebody who works there used to work in an office where their vote is now extremely relevant, or they're on a committee that oversees this. It is so transparent when you just observe and see how this type of stuff happens. It's just disgusting. So, like Cenk's saying, it's these positions. Why do people in DC take these unpopular positions? It's easy when you just follow the money. And especially follow the influence. I would recommend for anybody who's curious about just how bad it is, day to day, subscribe to that newsletter. I think it's called Politico Influence. It is just off the wall level of corruption. And the thing is, Politico is also part of it, because they take corporate sponsors and then those corporations, especially oil and gas, will then sponsor the relevant newsletters on those issues. So it's like, yes, they're good at identifying it, but then they're also part of the problem in helping perpetuate it.
Yep. All right. But I'm sure that everybody's talking about this level of corruption on mainstream media. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.